Fully. Alright, alright.
Massive changes are coming to the world of Ragnarok Online Prime. Meet the Infinity Update. Star
Reload. And this is the latest one. Okay, let's go. Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this afternoon update video on a major hurricane Melissa. It is 4:12 p.m. Monday. It is 4:12 p.m. Monday, October 27, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you all like this video. I'd really appreciate it if you all get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video, and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems, so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Center's 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook that came out at 4:42 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We see that the only cyclone 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We see that the only cyclone across the entire Atlantic basin is still major hurricane Melissa right here now to the south, or slightly to the southwest of Jamaica. And if we take a look at the infrared, the latest infrared of Melissa right in here, we can see the clouds, the showers, and the thunderstorms associated with her extending from the southern portion of southeastern Cuba into Haiti, all the way down where she's inducing a trough-like pattern. So we see many clouds down in here across the southwestern Caribbean, down also into portions of northwestern, or is that northeastern Colombia, okay? And we see a lot of convection even off to our south and east, so a lot of lightning within all of that. And we can see up here, look at what's happening here. Upper level wind shear blowing the cloud tops off towards that direction. So I'm guessing the atmosphere is starting to feel the effects of the trough that is exiting the eastern US. So eventually that is what's going to be pulling, basically grabbing Melissa, and basically grabbing her and pulling her across our island as she makes that northerly then northeasterly trek towards that direction. We've been talking about this. As you can see here, the close-up of Melissa right in about, is it gonna load, or is it because everybody is looking at Melissa right now? Because trust me, it was working a while ago, so I don't know. It feels like breaking down now, but I don't even blame it. I mean, the infrared, everybody is loading this up right now for sure, so it only makes sense. But as stated, we see the crazy central dense overcast of the system. Doesn't seem like it wants to load. No problem. I have another map right here. The system, look at how perfect it is, and with that eye that we can see all the way down into the sea. And trust me, if we had the close-up, we would be able to see all of the crazy amounts of lightning. Trust me, the amount of lightning that is around the system's center of circulation, it's just crazy. Let me see if I can do it here, because so many people are on this website right now, you know, looking at this pattern to the central dense overcast, all of the blacks into the grays, into the what looks like pinks, if not purples, and then that eye right in there with a lot of lightning. I mean, the eye is supposed to be the calmest part of the hurricane, but I wouldn't feel calm in the eye because there's so much lightning, and I'm afraid of lightning. It's crazy, but I'm afraid of it. Like, it isn't even crazy because we know that lightning is dangerous. So it's a very bad situation right here, still pushing off towards the northwest as of the latest update from the hurricane. As a matter of fact, looking like at the end of it is was moving a bit more west than northwest. So maybe it's doing a kind of westerly thing or westerly jog, or will it actually do a thing where it loops or wobbles around these hurricanes that are so formidable, are known for doing that. We can see the crazy thunderstorms off to the east. We know the nasty side of the storm is on the eastern side, so we can have some crazy thunderstorms over here, still affecting portions of Haiti, even if the system is making landfall on Jamaica. And if we take a look at the latest Euro ensembles, the spaghetti models have changed a bit, because if you remember, even this morning's video, the ensembles were pushing it a bit farther west, then taking it northward, maybe threading the needle between Cayman Islands and Jamaica. But clearly you see that most of them are taking it across western parishes, and you know our western parishes already. You know, we're basically talking about those parishes that are within the county of Cornwall. I can't believe I didn't have these loaded already. So you're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawny, Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, is where the system is going to be tracking over. You know, they're going to be tracking, well, the center of the system is going to be tracking over the southwestern parishes first, so Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth first, if that actually takes place. Then Hanover, St. James, Trelawny second, if that actually takes place. And you know, some other parishes could definitely be affected, but that's just the Euro ensembles right in there. In terms of what the GFS ensembles are showing right here, not much change, even though we have to zoom way in to see. I don't know why they do the GFS ensemble like this, but clearly it's the same trend, northwest, then to the northeast across the island. And then you know what takes place after that. Landfall damage. Hopefully the rebuilding thing is easy, boy. So as of right now, you see the intensity model guidance still you know, maintains that Cat 5 hurricane status over the next 12 hours, but more than likely it's sometime by then, within the next 12 hours, that it should make landfall on Jamaica. And as soon as the landfall comes in, the intensity gonna be decreasing. Cat 4 expected, then Cat 3, and then more than likely over the next day or so, when it has finished making its landfall back over into the sea between Jamaica and Cuba, maybe some possible strengthening again. We see some of the models taking it up in a way, and then across Cuba, or they said that it's going to be moving so quickly, so who knows, maybe it is Cat 4, Cat 3 somewhere in here. Don't know for sure, but clearly the intensity is Cat 5 now. Cat 4 is expected next, then 3, then 2. So I'm sure that it has to do with some land interaction. And if we take a look here, the latest here from the Hurricane Center states that the system is moving at 3 miles per hour to the northwest. Okay, still moving to that direction. And it is now packing maximum sustained winds of 175 miles per hour. We know that systems that pack anywhere from, well, anywhere greater than, here's the greater than sign that we learned about in basic school and primary school. Anything that's greater than 157 mile per hour winds are classified as category 5 hurricanes, and it has 175 right now. That's crazy. That's going to be destroying houses, ripping roofs off, breaking windshields, twisting and moving cars. Trust me, it has the power to do so. As I've said before, go outside right now before it comes. Take some pictures of your house. Take some pictures of your yard, your neighborhood. Take the before pictures. And then as soon as the system passes and we head into Wednesday, take the after pictures. And then you're going to put them side by side in a collage. Because trust me, pictures like those go viral. Take a picture of your house before, especially if you have a zinc house top and you live in St. Elizabeth or Westmoreland or Hanover or St. James or Trelawny or Manchester. Because boy, it's going to be bad, and we're going to see the huge drastic difference that a Cat 5 hurricane makes. The same way how your neighborhood or your yard looks right now with the heap of trees, light posts, buildings, houses, whatever, it is not going to look the same because of this storm, guys. Category 5, it's crazy. And if we take a look at the past of this system: westward track, then northwest, then west, then northwest, then east southeast, then northwest, then west southwest, then west. And as you can see here, the tropical storm force winds extend out to a great deal. The entire island of Jamaica is experiencing on and off tropical storm force winds, especially within the vicinity of showers, for sure. So when we experience the showers, that's usually when we get the crazy winds. Sometimes it calms down now and there's no rain, then the next hour another rain band extend in and around the center. So it's a small area around the eye in general. This is why those parishes out west could be getting the brunt of the system. And if we track if we look at the interactive map here from the Hurricane Center, basically giving us a zoomed in footage of what we just mentioned, the path that it took: Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3, Cat 4, now Cat 5. The hurricane force winds around it in the greenish yellowish, and the tropical storm force winds around it in what looks like the bluish greenish colors. I think that is what they call turquoise. But as you can see, it is now down to 906 millibars, moving to the northwest at 175 with 212 mile per hour wind gusts. That is crazy. 906 millibars, by the way. We know that systems that pack anywhere less than, so this is the less than sign, less than 920 would basically be categorized as category 5 hurricanes for real. And as you can see, the system is expected to push northward, where it should have 165, so it's decreasing in intensity just a bit as it is pushing to the north towards us, and then making landfall more than likely as a category 5. We see that by the time it gets here into northern St. Elizabeth, it is back down to a 145 mile per hour hurricane. That is a category 4. Anywhere from 130 to 156 is category 4 for sure. And then it makes it off towards the northeast quickly, because look at the gap between this is 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Tuesday. Okay, so that's 1 p.m. Jamaica time on Tuesday. It's gonna be already making landfall, but the eye should be sitting on top of northern St. Elizabeth at that point. And then if that is 1 p.m. on Tuesday, October 28th, and this is about 1 a.m. on Wednesday, October 29th. So it definitely speeding up now. So it's gonna be out of here quickly, and we're grateful for that. We don't want her to sit over the waters to our north and send a lot of outer bands or feeder bands into us one bit. So we want to be done with her as soon as she makes her landfall. And that there are some crazy waves that are expected out of this system. We spoke about this over the next couple of hours into the next day, and then as you can see, especially as the system pushes to our north, the crazy waves. So anything from the pinks into the purples into the burgundies into the oranges represents anywhere from 2 all the way up to the 9 meter wave height range. You're talking about 7 feet up to 13 feet. That's way high. Okay, so 7 feet. Think about your own body. How tall are you? Most of us are 5 foot something inches. Okay, if you're by the beach, you know the drill. That is what is coming for you. And the tropical storm force winds still extend out to a great deal. Still having Jamaica shaded in the purples. That represents a 90% chance of tropical storm force winds affecting us. It's already been affecting us, and there's a lot more of that to come as we head into tonight and tomorrow. And the winds also show the same thing. First of all, winds coming in from the east southeast as we head throughout the night, and the system pushes towards the north. More of a southeasterly flow on the eastern side. More of that moisture pushing in tonight into tomorrow, then making that landfall, and then still getting that southerly flow. But as you can see, the this side right here, the south side of the eye, should start getting in on that westerly flow. So they're gonna get an easterly flow first, then a westerly flow from the other direction after. That is usually what takes place when it comes to these hurricanes. and then way out of here, affecting southeastern Cuba by around 4 a.m. on Wednesday. But we're still going to be getting in on a westerly, if not a looks like, well, it's a westerly flow for sure. Northwesterly on the west side, southwesterly on the east side for sure. You know, we're talking about anywhere from tropical storm force winds in the 39 miles per hour to 73 miles per hour winds, all the way up to category 1 wind gusts, if not category 2 wind gusts, if not category 3 wind gusts, or category 4 wind gusts. And you know, we're definitely going to be getting on the category 4, category 5 winds when the system is making landfall into those western parishes especially. And if we take a look at the latest Euro model, so we're looking at the 12Z run of the Euro model that came out today. So we're just going to be going on to the next 60 hours at least. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp here. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica here. So we're just going on to the next 60 hours. As time is wrapping up for this system. So look at this system lifting up and then starts to make that turn, making landfall in western Jamaica especially, and then out of here. See there? Even out of here before the 60-hour time frame. Right here affecting the southeastern Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, already affected Cuba by the 60-hour time frame. And the GFS 12Z run, it's about, by the way, the 18Z run of the GFS is about to begin at 4:30. So we're going to be talking about that in our live stream. If you're watching this video right now, we're still live streaming if you don't know. So come over to the channel, click on the live stream. So yes, pushing northward. This is by 12Z on Tuesday, so that's 7 a.m. And then we see it has already made landfall by that time, pushing northeastward and then pushing through eastern Cuba or southeastern Cuba. Then, as you can here by the end of the 60 hours across southeastern Cuba right there. So both the Euro and the GFS are definitely in agreement. They're in consensus with regards to what is going to be taking place, and as such the rainfall totals for the next 3 days from the Hurricane Center still shows a lot of rainfall expected for us, especially the area that's at the point of landfall. Look at Jamaica and the rainfall totals that's expected. Still expecting the oranges across the entire island. That's 8 to 12 inches of rainfall. That's 200 to 300 millimeters of rainfall. The reds across a great deal of the island. That's 12 to 16 inches. That's 300 to 400 millimeters of rainfall. The dark reds across what looks like St. James, St. Elizabeth, section of St. Anne into Manchester. That's 16 to 20 inches. That's 400 to 500 millimeters of rainfall. And the pinks extending from St. Anne into Manchester and St. Elizabeth, that's 20 inches to 30 inches. That's 500 to 750 millimeters of rainfall. Okay, so yeah, that's some crazy rainfall totals. And let me remind you that in terms of the flooding that took place in Kingston on September 19, that was only 3 inches of rainfall, 75 millimeters of rainfall that flooded out Kingston. And we're expecting all of this within the next 24 to 48 hours, where there's going to be some amount of flooding, and not to mention the crazy wind that is going to be moving through. And as such, the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that are going all the way up until Thursday, October 30, are showing that we have the purples into the pinks, into the peaches, into the blues, representing from through all the way up to 25 inches of rainfall expected across the entire island. And we see the close-up right here, both the Euro and the let me load the GFS. So both the Euro and the GFS right here, even although the GFS is a bit more robust than the Euro, especially the rainfall totals out west now with the whites and the grays up to 500 millimeters of rainfall. The Euro a bit more reserved, but still a lot of rainfall with the purples and the whites and the grays here and there. So a lot of flood rainfall to come. Alright, so let us see what's happening now. The latest visible shows the entire island blanketed in the clouds of Melissa. The infrared right here shows, look at all of the reds into the blacks. One would think that everybody is getting rainfall by the looks of this, but you can have clouds like this over a country and we're not necessarily getting rainfall every single where maybe some places the rainfall has cooled down, and then some other places the rainfall is starting up as we speak. Like with me, I can hear the rainfall starting up hard now with some strong winds in my part of St. Thomas right here right now. So I'm guessing I'm getting in on some of these rain bands pushing in from the south, and I can see the rain bands even better because I have the Doppler radar images loaded up. But the Jamaican Doppler radar imagery, there it is, service unavailable, and I don't blame it. Not only because the winds are starting to pick up across Cooper's Hill in St. Andrew, but we have a lot of people who are on the website right now. So even people who aren't being affected by the hurricane, people in the United States, are watching out the Doppler radar. Even the Hurricane Center uses the Doppler radar to make its forecast. So we're glad that we also have the Cuban Doppler radar right here to use. So let's reload it so that we have the very latest to look at. Because there it goes, no Jamaican Doppler radar to look at. So the latest Cuban Doppler radar goes all the way up to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time, which is actually 4:30 p.m. Jamaica time. So this latest Doppler radar image just came out 2 minutes ago, considering that it is 4:32 p.m. right now. And as you can see, we can definitely make out the eye of Melissa right in here, trying to get herself organized and push northward. She's right down in here. But as you can clearly see, we have that moisture pushing in from south or southeast to northwest. So almost all the parishes across Jamaica are getting on some, if it's not light to moderate in the greens, that's some heavy rainfall in some of these yellow spots here. So I'm getting some moderate to heavy rainfall right now in my part of St. Thomas, some windy conditions. I see some rainfall in Portland, St. Mary into Kingston, St. Andrews, St. Catherine, Clarendon, St. Trelawney, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, and over into St. James, getting in on some amount of rain. Some chickens right here running about. Nothing to do with bad weather now, but that could definitely change. And then finally, the downtown Kingston camera now. Not much of anything serious, but they're getting in on some rainfall as we speak. Some, let's say, moderate rainfall, enough for there to be some water running on the road. I see one individual right here in front of Tasty is walking by. All right, so what is the weather like in your area? Let me check the live to see if anybody remember that there's supposed to let me know what's taking place in their area right now. What's going on? Because as much as we are live streaming now, we're also recording the video. Okay, area right now. Nobody, it seems like everybody forgot to tell me. Okay, Ricardo, heavy rains now in Kingston Eastern. Thank you very much. We have Lucky Me. Comments are going so fast. Hold on. We have Lucky Me sitting rain calm down in Portmore. Tamara. A lot of rain in Portmore. Wait, wanna make up with the mind. Because Lucky Me stating rain calm down in Portmore. Tamara stating a lot of rain in Portmore. So which is it? Are you guys at the opposite sides of Portmore right now? We have Yugita stating raining here in Kingston. Black Beauty stating Spanish Town rain. What else? Jermaine Jackson stating no rain, just school. What parish is that? Let me know. Okay. Light rain in St. Mary states Nikki Tolo. Alright, so let us continue. Thank you for the updates. Okay. Alright, so those persons who were just mentioned, you'll be mentioned in the video that we're recording right now. Remember, it's a recording, you know. So you're basically on the live right now, you know, viewing the live taping, because this is what is going to be uploaded shortly before we actually get the updates from the weather channel at 5. Alright, so regarding what's expected, I think this has passed the 20 minutes time by now. Let me see, going to be looking at what the rainfall forecast maps are showing for the next 24 to 48 hours at least. So we can see the system right down here with all of the crazy rainfall. This is valid for 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 6 p.m. Jamaica time, and we can clearly see the moisture that should still be pushing into southern parishes. We see the blues, we see the greens, some moderate to heavy rainfall with the strong winds affecting especially the southern parishes here on the Euro. The GFS a bit more robust with the 6 p.m. rainfall. Greens, yellows, oranges, pinks, reds. I think it's overdoing it a bit. Either way, you know, when we're talking about eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, like Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, and St. Andrew. Central parishes, you know, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, like St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Catherine. While western parishes, you know, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. While when we're talking about our southern parishes, we're talking about those parishes on the bottom, like Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, and St. Thomas. While in northern parishes, we're talking about those parishes on top, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. So let's continue to go out in time. So we're talking about 3 hours later now, so 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 9 p.m. Jamaica time. We can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS malls are showing the rainfall, especially not only the blues that we know represents what the millimeters, 0.1 of a millimeter up to 4 millimeters, but some dark blues into the greens, into the yellows, into the oranges across the southern and eastern parishes. Still, GFS still showing crazy rainfall in the southwest, pushing northward. Euro model still has the system out to sea by 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 12 midnight tonight. So 12 a.m. the Euro still has the system down here. The GFS has the system closer to the coast. So the GFS is stating that the system should have made the turn by then and started to push towards the island, bring crazy rainfall to central and western Jamaica. Then we're moving on to 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's actually 3 a.m. Jamaica time on the Euro. Euro still has the system to the southwest of us, but we see crazy rainfall pushing into the south coast. Greens, yellows, pinks. That's a lot of rainfall for 3 a.m. if this is true. GFS still has the system to the southwest of us. Crazy rainfall across the entire island. I mean, look at these. Greens, yellows, oranges, reds, purples. Trust me, all the way up until landfall, we're just going to be getting nailed with strong winds and heavy rainfall. So this is about 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time now. This is 6 a.m. Am I looking at the right map? Hold on there. Yeah, so we just looked at 3 a.m. Now it's time for 6 a.m. now. So we're heading out 3 hours, every 3 hours. Still having the system to the southwest of us according to the Euro. Still having a lot of moisture pushing into the south coast. So you can find your parish and look to see what you're shaded in at that time. GFS. Coming closer with the system at 6 a.m. Let us look now at the 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time frame, which is actually 9 a.m. Till have the system right here on the Euro, just off the coast of St. Elizabeth, starting to close in now. Moisture right here pushing in from the south to the north across the south coast into the eastern end. GFS about to make landfall at around 10 a.m. if not 9 a.m. Look at the purples that represents the eye wall pushing into Westmoreland, if not Hanover, St. James, already lashed St. Elizabeth at that time. Let us look at what the latest Euro is showing now. So 12Z Euro starting to make landfall with the purples into the reds right here. That's about midday on Tuesday according to the Euro. GFS has already made landfall. It is right here. The eye is right at the border of St. James and Trelawney. We'll see. We know these models aren't 100% accurate, but they do paint quite the picture of what is to come, and they're clearly in agreement that it should be taking it up into this area from southwest to north across St. Elizabeth, eastern Westmoreland to St. James and Trelawney. It's just a bad situation for the breadbasket parish in general. Clearly a lot of rainfall for the 3 p.m. time frame on the Euro. GFS starting to let up a bit across the southern coastal areas, but we know we can still get some crazy feeder bands coming through. Euro by 6 p.m. on Tuesday. Still has a lot of rainfall, even although the system should be to the north of us by that time. Still has a lot of rainfall pushing through. GFS has the system to the north of us, still having some blues represent rainfall across the island. 10 p.m., which is 9 p.m. Jamaica time, system north of us, rainfall across section of the island. Still those outer bands. GFS, something similar but a bit further away from where the Euro has it. And we see the blues across the entire island that represents rainfall. And then finally, we're talking about 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, which is actually, midnight on Wednesday morning. And we still have some leftover showers across the island while the system is getting ready to make landfall in southeastern Cuba on the Euro. GFS, what does the GFS show? It doesn't seem like it has it ready, or maybe it didn't load. I wonder what took place. Okay, here it goes. A reload fixed it. Getting ready to make landfall in southeastern Cuba, but clearly we still have some moisture to endure. We see the blues here across sections of the island. And the precipitation forecast maps here in agreement that some crazy rainfall totals are still expected. I mean, look at these rainfall totals. And let me remind you that the rainfall that caused the flooding in Kingston on September 19, that crazy rainfall where there was a lot of footage in Crossroads and Uptown and so on, that was just 3 inches of rainfall, 75 millimeters of rainfall. Look at the amount of rainfall that's expected from now up until 3Z Wednesday, which is actually 10 p.m. Tuesday. So all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. Tuesday. Look at the purples into the peaches into the whites into the blues. That represents what we see here on the key on the right. That's anywhere from 3 all the way up to maybe 15 inches of rainfall. We even see the numbers here, 11 or 12 inches of rainfall in Manchester when it's rounded off, 7.8 in St. James, 7.2 in Trelawney, 5.4 in Western St. Anne, 4.5 in Northeastern St. Anne, 5.5 in Portland, 8.7 in St. Thomas, 8.99 in Kingston. And then the GFS is even more so robust, especially across the southwestern end where the system should be making landfall. 17.66 in Hanover, what looks like is the 16.91 in St. Elizabeth, 15.43 in Manchester, 16.32 in St. James, 11.42 in Trelawney, 9.43 in St. Anne, 8.25 in Northeastern St. Anne, 6.94 in St. Mary, 6.77 in Portland, 6.75 in St. Thomas, 8 inches of rainfall in Kingston, 12.2 in Clarendon. Trust me, all of these live cameras are going to be down for sure. So all of these people who are watching out the live cameras now, just enjoy it while it lasts. The strong winds are going to come, the light is going to go away, the internet is going to go away, the place is going to flood. Hopefully people have some footage before all of this happens that we can see it after everything is said and done. Alright, so that is it for now. Thank you all for watching. Alright, so I just made the video. Let's get ready to upload it fast because 5 o'clock is fast approaching. And I need to hold on. So I hope you enjoyed
situations where it's best to get off of that island of Jamaica.
And go where? Leave the island and go where?
Fresh drop.
Jamaicans not even leave the flood-prone areas till they see the hurricane. Them have to see it, fi believe it. When rain start fall and the place start flood out, you see man a pack out with the whole fridge. With couple pieces of clothes in it and then cream crackers and mackerel and sitting so alone. Leave the area, leave the island.
There's nowhere that will escape the wrath of this hurricane.
Situations where it's best to get off of that island of Jamaica.
And go where? Leave the island and go where?
Fresh drop.
Jamaicans not even leave the flood-prone areas till they see the hurricane. Them have to see it, fi believe it. When rain start fall and the place start flood out, you see man a pack out with the whole fridge. With couple pieces of clothes in it and then cream crackers and mackerel and sitting so alone. Leave the area, leave the island.
There's nowhere that will escape the wrath of this hurricane.
Situations where it's best to get off of that island of Jamaica.
And go where? Leave the island and go where?
Fresh drop.
Jamaicans not even leave the flood-prone areas till they see the hurricane. Them have to see it, fi believe it. When rain start fall and the place start flood out, you see man a pack out with the whole fridge. With couple pieces of clothes in it and then cream crackers and mackerel and sitting so alone. Leave the area, leave the island.
There's nowhere that will escape the wrath of this hurricane.
Situations where it's best to get off of that island of Jamaica.
And go where? Leave the island and go where?
Fresh drop.
Jamaicans not even leave the flood-prone areas till they see the hurricane. Them have to see it, fi believe it. When rain start fall and the place start flood out, you see man a pack out with the whole fridge. With couple pieces of clothes in it and then cream crackers and mackerel and sitting so alone. Leave the area, leave the island.
There's nowhere that will escape the wrath of this hurricane.
Situations where it's best to get off of that island of Jamaica.
And go where? Leave the island and go where?
Fresh drop.
Jamaicans not even leave the flood-prone areas till they see the hurricane. Them have to see it, fi believe it. When rain start fall and the place start flood out, you see man a pack out with the whole fridge. With couple pieces of clothes in it and then cream crackers and mackerel and sitting so alone. Leave the area, leave the island.
There's nowhere that will escape the wrath of this hurricane.
Situations where it's best to get off of that island of Jamaica.
And go where? Leave the island and go where?
Fresh drop.
Jamaicans not even leave the flood-prone areas till they see the hurricane. Them have to see it, fi believe it. When rain start fall and the place start flood out, you see man a pack out with the whole fridge. With couple pieces of clothes in it and then cream crackers and mackerel and sitting so alone. Leave the area, leave the island.
There's nowhere that will escape the wrath of this hurricane.
Situations where it's best to get off of that island of Jamaica.
And go where? Leave the island and go where?
Fresh drop.
Jamaicans not even leave the flood-prone areas till they see the hurricane. Them have to see it, fi believe it. When rain start fall and the place start flood out, you see man a pack out with the whole fridge. With couple pieces of clothes in it and then cream crackers and mackerel and sitting so alone. Leave the area, leave the island.
There's nowhere that will escape the wrath of this hurricane.
Situations where it's best to get off of that island of Jamaica.
And go where? Leave the island and go where?
Fresh drop.
Melissa, one of the strongest hurricanes ever recorded in the Atlantic. 175 mile per hour sustained winds with this storm system. Let me show you a little bit about this. The hurricane hunters tried to fly into it today. They had to turn around, but before they did, they noted a great bunch of birds stuck in the eye wall. So strong that those birds can't fly out and the plane couldn't fly in. This is one of the strongest winds that we've ever seen in a hurricane, getting up over 200 miles per hour for gusts, and the storm system, unfortunately, is bearing down on Jamaica. Unfortunately, we're running out of sky cams that are actually operational in Jamaica. This is from the Cayman Islands looking toward the storm. You can see how rough the surf is there and the wind, and that is about 100 miles from where the worst of this is going to be. Let's look closer at the worst of this storm. Some of the stats: 175 mile per hour sustained winds with gusts at 210. This storm system is bearing down on Jamaica and will continue to do so. I've got a brand new track I want to show you on this storm as it continues to push up toward the north. It's worth noting it is expected to remain a Category 5 hurricane here as it pushes through Jamaica. They're telling folks in Jamaica to run from the water and hide from the wind. So get away from the shoreline and then hunker down with the wind, because that swath of almost 200 mile per hour winds is about 30 miles wide. And on a small island, that's getting a lot of folks right there. Now, once this gets back out over the water, it maintains its Cat 3 strength. Cuba is in store for a really hard landfall as well. Let's look at this with our spaghetti models, in great agreement with it going through western Cuba, or western Jamaica into eastern Cuba, and the winds are so strong with this storm system. Look at this, just west of Kingston, that's the biggest populated area. So all this wind and rain going up over these high mountains there in Jamaica, and that's where the landslide problems will become a really rough, catastrophic 24 hours ahead for Jamaica. Melissa, one of the strongest
From Port Maria to Negril, the rain just isn't letting up. Homes are underwater, roads are ripped apart, and entire farms have vanished beneath the flood. This is the impact of Storm Melissa. Jamaica is dry. From Port Maria.
That video, that might just be the last video I post for the longest, while considering that the system is getting ready to lash us. Then let me close all of these. I'm gonna start recording. Sure.
Is Morgan to your help?
Alright, they're so ready. Let's wait. Let us wait for them. Let us wait for them. Still uploading. Waiting to upload. Nah, you're not of this. Hope you start making a nice one, me. Okay, it muted. Good. Getting ready for that, and that can be done later. So, here we go. Weather Unfiltered has begun. Pay attention, people.
And as mentioned was before, unless it's strengthened
into the Category 5 storm it is right now.
And the turbulence inside of Melissa's eyewall earlier today was so severe, it forced one of the NOAA hurricane hunter planes to leave the storm early, a rarity that speaks to the intensity and dangers of Melissa.
The satellite view, impressive, no doubt about that. Melissa on a collision course with Jamaica.
Yeah, for the next 12 hours, conditions will go from bad to worse, potentially a worst-case scenario for parts of the island.
The National Hurricane Center imploring people not to venture out of safe shelter. From this point forward in Jamaica, with catastrophic winds and life-threatening flooding, it's going to be a very dangerous night and tomorrow in Jamaica.
For sure. Welcome, everyone. This is a special edition of Weather Unfiltered. I'm Mike Pettis.
I'm Alex Wilson. As always, we are here with our hurricane expert, former director of the National Hurricane Center, Dr. Rick Knabb.
Yeah, just because we saw this coming doesn't make it any easier to stomach what's about to happen. And it's so critical that people go to the safest possible place and stay there for longer than you feel like you need to. This is going to be
normally complex, but that's about to change. Now, Vidu introduces AI-driven video creation. This isn't your typical text to clip to.
It's going to be rough. Category 5 potentially making landfall, the strongest hurricane to hit since Gilbert. So this says a lot.
Yeah, we've got a lot in play. We've got terrain there on the island. We've got very vulnerable areas to surge. We've got areas vulnerable to landslides, mudslides, so it could, and wind too. So it could really be a devastating all-around storm.
Yeah, and it's going to be different from Gilbert in a lot of ways. Longer duration, stronger, but going in a completely different direction. So some areas that got certain impacts from Gilbert, it might be other areas that get worse storm surge, like the southern coast, could really get that effect this time.
We're going to break that down coming up in a little bit, but we want to start with a live look at Kingston, Jamaica. We've seen the rain bands moving in. Obviously, you can see everything's wet. There are still some people out and about, but Dr. Knabb, later tonight and into tomorrow morning, things really go downhill. It is imperative. Honestly, the National Hurricane Center saying now you need to be in your safe spot.
Yeah, and as you can tell by the very few people out and about, that people are taking shelter. And by the time the sun goes down tonight, you cannot be venturing out at all for the rest of tonight, for the rest of tomorrow. And Mike, how long and dangerous will the aftermath be?
Yeah, questions we don't have answers to yet, right? We just don't know what is going to play out. We haven't seen anything of this magnitude for us in Jamaica. Let's show you what was happening in Kingston, Jamaica yesterday. It was a breezy day, no doubt about that. Red flags were out at the beaches. Hopefully everyone was completing their preparations yesterday and totally wrapping everything up today for sure. But this is well ahead of the coming in. Already windy, but things are only going to get worse for us here as we go through time. An incredibly dangerous, really intense storm. On satellite, you can clearly see that eye, which is just completely circular right now. Winds way up there with some of the strongest hurricanes we've ever seen in the Atlantic Basin. 175 miles per hour, very low pressure at 906 millibars. So the lower the pressure, the more intense it is. So if the pressure lowers even more, the winds may respond and go up even. Northwest movement's pretty slow at 3, but it's made a bit of a turn now more to the northwest. Although I would say this, it is edging more to the western side of the forecast cone. So, that I think in some regards that may bode well for us, but the devil's in details and how quick the turn may happen and how much of Jamaica it actually hits. On the visible satellite, my goodness, you can clearly see the stadium effect inside that eye, where it's really narrowed down at the bottom, and then it kind of funnels out from there, almost like a stadium that you would sit in for a baseball game or a football game. It is well-formed, circular storm that really spells danger for Jamaica, eventually Cuba as well. The eye wall, well-formed as well, and you can just see the spiraling bands around that. We were talking about this last week where it was really disjointed, and we thought over time, with lower wind shear, warm sea surface temperatures, this thing was really going to explode. And indeed it has. If you take a look at what the winds are right now in Kingston, out of the southeast, 18 already gusting to 35, likely to just intensify as we go through the night. In Montego Bay on the northwest side of the island here, 13-mile-per-hour winds coming out of the northeast. So we'll show you the hurricane hunters that are flying into it now, the U.S. Air Force hurricane hunters as well as the NOAA planes. They'll give us more information as to what's happening with the hurricane. We'll get a better precise location of the center, although it's pretty well seen on satellite right now. But we'll also get a very good good idea of what the wind speeds are. Hurricane warnings, tropical storm warnings, hurricane watches in effect. By the way, that does include portions of the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos as well. But the immediate impact is likely to be felt here in Jamaica as late tonight, early tomorrow morning, pre-dawn hours, landfall anticipated here in southwest Jamaica as a Category 4 or 5 hurricane, then accelerating after that and moving its way through Cuba, potentially the Bahamas, then out into the Atlantic. The rainfall forecast insanely high. Look at some areas of Jamaica, 12 to 18 isolated pockets of up to 30 inches of rain. And Dr. Knabb, we're roughly 12 hours or so from landfall, and now is go time for everyone that needs to be hunkered down in their safe spot right now.
Yeah, really need to not be venturing out anymore in Jamaica. People throughout Jamaica preparing as best they can. You can see boarded up windows and doors in Montego Bay. Of course, as Mike just mentioned, that's on the northwest side of the island, but that doesn't mean they're not going to get some devastating winds and some water impacts. So that side of the island could get, 1, 2, 3 feet of storm surge. There's what they're doing to try to lessen the amount of flying debris. Very, very dangerous night and tomorrow ahead. This is going to be a very long duration event. And what has happened over the weekend is relevant to what might happen over the next day or so, because after all of this rapid intensification, especially Saturday night into Sunday morning, it has continued to strengthen. And we often talk about how, very intense hurricanes like this often go through internal structural changes. Eyewall replacement cycles, maybe they weaken a little bit, but then get larger afterward. And if Melissa is going to weaken before making landfall in Jamaica or close to it, it's probably not going to weaken very much, because there are no immediate signs of concentric eye walls that would portend a weakening and a structural change. It's just very steady state and only getting a little bit stronger. We'll see how strong the winds are in those aircraft missions later tonight. And it is beginning that turn to the north, and the confidence is high that at the very least, a good portion of Jamaica is going to be in an eye wall and on the stronger side. And even if Kingston doesn't get the eye wall, they're going to be in that southerly flow. The eye wall has a lot of lightning in it, and there's not, it's very steady state there. There's no changes in the internal structure that the lightning data are telling us are about to happen. And of course, there's a lot of bands here way out to the east. And so you don't have to be in the path of the eye or the eye wall to get significant impacts. So tropical storm force winds in spots, in gusts, especially at higher elevations, already happening. But what happens overnight tonight is the really strong tropical storm force winds probably arrive a little bit after midnight, and then the hurricane conditions arriving by breakfast time. And that, of course, depends on the exact path. But then look how long of a duration the island is going to be dealing with hurricane conditions well into the afternoon, and the strong tropical storm force winds continue well past this time tomorrow night. So the two observations here are on the south shore and on the northwest shore. And Montego Bay is kind of sheltered right now, and Kingston isn't in the really strong strong winds yet. But and then this is just to give you a general idea what happened. These numbers might not be exactly right, but look at how strong the winds could be even on the northern side. And where these strongest winds occur will depend on exactly where that eye goes. But farther to the right, the winds could be stronger in a place like Kingston, and Ocho Rios and Montego Bay could still get much stronger than what you see here. And the onshore flow is going to produce several feet of storm surge all the way to the Kingston area in all likelihood, because you're going to be on the right-hand side of this. So that could be much worse storm surge in Kingston than we've hardly ever seen. And that's with the onshore flow. And one thing to point out, too, is even after the eye comes ashore, you're still going to have onshore flow and heavy rain bands well past the time of landfall all the way to the eastern side of the island, Alex.
And we started to see those rain bands in Jamaica over the weekend. Here's some of the heavy rain just yesterday. Visibility, barely anything. Melissa, could be the strongest storm to hit Jamaica in over half a century. NBC's George Solis.
Ports are shut down right now, so anyone that is here is going to have to weather this storm. Again, hopefully, a lot of fingers crossed that the damage is not significant. Guys?
George, thank you. Well, rainfall with topography, that's a combo that's oftentimes problematic, and we think that will be the case again with Melissa. Rainfall to come between now and Wednesday. So this is, extended when we talk about hurricane landfalls, but pretty short period of time to see that kind of rain. 12 to 18 inches over most of the island of Jamaica. Some spots, though, could see locally up to 30 inches of rain. Southwestern Haiti starting to back off on totals there, but still we could see really devastating landslide potential and flash flooding potential in the southwestern part of the nation, where we could see 8 to 12 inches of rain. Cuba, we've seen our rainfall estimations or probabilities go up in a big way. So now Cuba looking at a huge zone of 8 to 12 inches of rain, with some spots in that 12 to 18 inch range as well. So again, when we have that kind of rain alone, that's going to cause flash flooding. When we've got terrain, now you've got the water rushing to the low spots where the rivers are, at the bottom of the hill. And a lot of times that's where people tend to live, right? Those river valleys or spots along the coast tend to be the pretty locations. Here's Jamaica, closer look. All right, so around Montego Bay, perhaps a foot of rain, but areas to the south and to the southwest could see higher totals, getting into that 1.5 to 2 feet range. That'll especially be likely over here on the eastern part of the island. That's where we could see plenty of areas getting close to or exceeding 20 inches, and that's where we'd also have that potential for up to 30 inches of rain. With the terrain, again, helping to squeeze out some of that moisture, you've got those easterly winds flowing over the island, but take a look at all of this terrain. So as air meets terrain, it rises, and rising air will tend to lead to more cloud cover, more rain showers, and so a lot of times on the upward facing slopes compared to the wind, that's where we see some of our highest rainfall totals, and we will likely see that with Melissa. So as clouds form, as air cools, it condenses, we get rain, and of course with a tropical system, we know we've got a ton of moisture locked up in this. Here's a look at the future radar, and again, heavy rain starts later tonight, continues through just about the whole day on Tuesday. Guys?
All right, Alex, thank you very much for that. Obviously, a big focus has been on how much rain we'll see, but now that the hurricane has intensified, the winds are going to be a major player. You can see yesterday and earlier today how much the winds are already up, and they only get more intense through the night tonight. Dr. Nab, we have a 175 mile per hour Category 5. So this now ups the ante for what we may see with destructive winds.
And even though it will gradually weaken due to land interaction and increasing shear over the next couple of days, we're still expecting a major hurricane to make landfall. Could be near the Cat 3-4 threshold coming into Cuba, and still a very strong hurricane coming into the southeast Bahamas. So for Cuba, it's tomorrow night, and for the southeast and central Bahamas and Turks and Caicos, it is a Wednesday event.
When you take a look at how well formed this is, what at this point going forward will bring those wind speeds down. Anything, or is it going to be purely at this point land interaction with Jamaica?
For the next day or so, it's just land interaction with Jamaica. Okay. After that, the passage over Cuba, more land interaction, but gradually increasing wind shear, because this trough, this system in the southeast U.S. is what is steering it northward, but it will gradually increase the shear. But it's hard to bring a Category 5 hurricane down very quickly. And we've talked a lot about how former Cat 5s can end up being horizontally larger. So that means a large area, including the central southeast Bahamas, now under the hurricane warning. And look at the timing here for Cuba. It's tomorrow morning that the tropical storm force winds begin, but the really bad stuff starts about 24 hours from now, tomorrow night into early Wednesday. That's the danger time for Cuba.
And for a lot of our viewers that may be familiar with Jamaica, Negril and Montego Bay could be especially susceptible.
Yeah, they could get the strongest winds on the west side.
Alright, I hope that you heard what they were saying. That's a lot of uploading, so bear with me. Alright, this can be posted now. What up, man? Come on. How the hell do I copy the description? Okay. Right here. So this right here. Okay, that's gonna take a while to upload. I don't know why. Maybe the internet's finally moving like trash or something. I don't know. But we got something from them, and I'm gonna see if I can get more things from them as the night progresses, especially as we get the 7 p.m. update, and then they're gonna go to their bed by 9. So by the time the 10 p.m. update comes out, we won't be able to get anything from them. Okay, I like how you guys are so loyal. So you're literally watching me work. Black Crow says, is Melissa really that bad though? Yes, it's going to be bad. Weren't you paying attention earlier? Because we literally showed footage of what a Category 5 hurricane looks like. Like, we showed Dorian, and Dorian made landfall in, hold on, everything seems like it wants to crash all of a sudden. No problem. Internet seems like it's moving to trash. No problem. Play the videos again. Can't you rewind? Are you guys still seeing my screen, by the way? Because I think the internet dropped or something. I don't know what's going on.
Our universe is vast, full of challenges and opportunities. And you
on the forecast track, the center of Melissa will be near or over Jamaica late tonight or Tuesday. Eastern sides of Cuba Tuesday night and early Wednesday, and then move through the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos on Wednesday. So that's the discussion of what we just talked about, right? So that's what the models are picking up on. Again, why are the spaghetti plots of the hurricane models showing the track that it has? Why is the Google DeepMind still showing all 50 members over the island? Because that is the scenario in the atmosphere that they feel like is steering this storm. Can things change? Can there be features that are stronger or weaker than what is forecast in the models? Absolutely. That's why it's not an exact science, right? It's not. But we have a very narrow window of time for this storm to do something outrageously different than what the models are showing. As you guys know, the cone of uncertainty widens over time. The forecast error widens over time because the models aren't as skillful deeper in time. That being said, they've gotten a lot better. They've gotten a lot better. Intensity-wise, they're still struggling with these storms, but track-wise, they really have gotten a lot better. Now, we'll see how this plays out. Okay, we'll see if this west turn continues. We would have to get this storm to be at least 30 miles west of Jamaica to really have significant differences in what the central and the eastern side of the island would see. But even a track 30 miles to the west, and that is allowing for a big swing west at this point in time, when your storm, right, is very generously, as far as I could keep going with this, 350 miles wide, double the size of Jamaica. The tropical storm force inner core winds, which are likely over 100 miles an hour, are 157 miles wide, right? So you get your sustained hurricane force winds, hurricane force winds out 30. You get your 50 to 74 mile an hour winds, probably in this 150 mile an hour range, right? 150 mile range. That's basically the width of the island. So you would have to have a storm that really goes much farther west for us to be talking about lower impacts out east, and even in the central or the western side of the island, still very significant impacts. Unfortunately, this storm is just that powerful. It's just that strong. It's just that big. Does that make sense to everyone? Let me know. If that explanation, was understood, please let me know. I'm happy to continue to talk about it. Hey, Vancouver, how you doing? Obviously, there's all kinds of structural infrastructure on Jamaica, concrete buildings. We do have some wooden frames. We have metal frames, metal roofs. There are different varieties of infrastructure, but even the most significant infrastructure with a storm of this magnitude is subject to extreme damage, right? Whether that's complete structural failure or not, with some of the strongest, hardened infrastructure, that's not. Satellite image. Thank you, Farah. Now again, look, there is room for error here. And that would be fantastic. But, you know, there's the science behind why it is likely to do what it's forecast to do. But these storms have certainly done things that we don't expect. I mean, I am interested in this west movement with you guys as well. I'm curious to see how long it will go. You know, it does look like you almost see it here. You see these purples? It does look like the eye is contracting just a little bit, and even deeper convection is developing along it. So it is a very interesting look to the storm in like the last hour and a half. Again, even a slight wobble south, but nothing that I've seen has this trying to turn to the south. Again, wobbles. If you look at this last 6 hours, even just a little bit on the drunk side, it does look like, but again, 3 mile an hour motion. There's nothing consistent about the storm with its motion right now. Just so weak. So it is a very interesting look to the storm. The eye just looks like it's shrinking a little bit for most of this Monday. And even a slight wobble south. It was a very consistent, on average, about 10 nautical miles wide, which is indicative of a high-end hurricane. If you look at this last 6 hours, consistent there. It does look like potentially a little bit of a contraction of the eye, but again, in the very short term. We'll see if that's just a, you know, a little bit, just so weak. And there's still a ton of lightning around this storm too, the eye. Ton of lightning. You know, maybe the eye is more like 8 miles wide now from 10. If I go back out here, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's probably shrunk by about 2 miles. Not a lot, but a little bit of a shrinkage in the eye. Again, you know, fluctuations within this inner core structure happen all the time. You know, from here, what happens, we'll have to watch, right? You know, does the storm, look, we've talked about this before, guys. Hurricanes this size, this intense, they can't stay this strong forever. They kind of blow their top a little bit, right? And they are likely to fluctuate in intensity and potentially weaken some, right? So to stay of a hurricane of 175 for an extended time is not likely. This storm is likely to go under some structural changes where the the maximum sustained winds reduce a bit. But again, appreciably what impacts is that going to have on Jamaica? Is it going to really bring, you know, winds that are much significantly less to really cause any differences? You know, I'll continue to discuss the fact that, you know, any structure that will fail in 160 mile an hour sustained winds is very likely to fail at 140 mile an hour sustained winds, and is very likely to fail at 120 mile an hour sustained winds. And just how low do you get before you have changes to structural damage from this storm? You probably have to get a lot lower than 175. where is that number? You know, again, for most structures, it's got to be a lot lower than that. And again, that's the inner core sustained winds from the hurricane. Areas east, you know, Kingston area east, sure, a reduction in some maximum sustained winds and a little jog west, maybe a great jog west relative to what we have on the track right now would bring a slightly better scenario here. But remember, we're still seeing 9 to 13 foot storm surge. So I just don't want us to get transfixed on exactly where the center is going to go, because the impacts are just going to be felt so far and wide with a storm this big. Wish it wasn't the case, guys, but you know, impacts are going to be felt in a tremendously wide area and significant impacts, and a tremendous amount of rain is going to be coming along too. Starting to get some rain in Kingston. Third sounds about right. I think we've had 180. Yeah, 150 again. Still 906. 906. The only thing that changed from the 2 o'clock to the 5 o'clock was that they changed the direction from west-northwest to northwest. But honestly, it really is still going more west-northwest than anything. And really, over the last hour, it's been going a little bit due west. So we'll see how that goes. Again, this all, in my opinion, right now is a very short-term bobble more than anything. The longer-term atmospheric steering currents, the steering flow, are likely to play out as we just discussed, where the storm does and is forced to turn north, slightly north of east potentially before it either, again, we'll plausibly say slightly west of Jamaica or over Jamaica, and then accelerating from there. Still a high chance of landfall. Yes, indeed. It is forecast right now to make landfall as either a low-end Cat 5 or a high-end Cat 4. I believe we are still in that 155 to 160, which would make it, the 160 would make it a Cat 5, okay? Again, that will just be for the record books. The difference to what we're gonna see on the island is not going to matter. 155, 160, heck, 140. It's just, unfortunately, it's just not gonna matter. Guys, just tuning in, this is some video that Jimmy sent me earlier. This is from the Southfield area of St. Elizabeth Parish. And again, it's a very common sight along the southern parishes here where the winds are just picking up in a more consistent fashion. You know, we've had some squalls and there's been some decent rain here, but you know, at this point in time, you know, you can just see that that wind, even at 30, 40 miles an hour, whatever this might end up being, it's still dancing these power lines. You know, these power lines aren't going to hold up for much longer, unfortunately, here. And I was talking with Justin, who has been sending us the videos out of the Treasure Beach area. They lost power probably around noontime, maybe even slightly earlier than that, which is why I was asking, and let me ask it again, you know, if you are on Jamaica, do you still have power? Thank you, PCPA. Says, love the more detailed explanation and technical side of it. Just found your channel, did the Melissa subbed. Well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate y'all taking a quick second hitting that subscribe button. Again, you know, we've been doing this for a couple of years, but we're a growing channel. We love your support. The biggest thing, the reason why we're on is to get this information out, right? To pass this information on so that those who are in harm's way can take this information and make the best decisions that they possibly can. Thank you, Vincent. Super dedication, no drama, just facts. That's what we try and do, you know. Feeder bands start to roll on and off with some wind gusts. Power is in and out on White House, Westmoreland. Okay, so far western side of the island there. Power in and out. Yes, Hayes and Clarendon. Still have power in St. Catherine. Mandeville still have power, but it's been flickering. Some parts of Mandeville are out. Power in Kingston. No power wherever Orion is. Again, would love, just a reminder, my friends, Let us know exactly where you are, because I really want to know, right? It's going to matter because, you know, we're going to start getting into that situation where, you know, certain areas of the island are going to start losing power first. And having that and understanding that is going to help me in the forecasting as well. Because again, when you lose power, you start losing communication abilities too, right? And obviously, as we get to nighttime, if you've lost power, you know, I want to make sure that you guys understand what's going on. If you still have battery backups or you're watching on your phone, you still have some power with that, it's going to help me out. So I do appreciate it. Power in and out in Hanover, power in Mobay. The power company said it will not turn off the power, which is an interesting fact because some power companies will turn the power off before a landfalling storm like this to try and save some of the power lines from having live electricity on them if they go down during the storm. Still have power in Brompton South, St. Elizabeth, appreciate it. Power in Westmoreland, power in and out in Clarendon, power in Portland on the east side of the island. Is it starting an eye wall replacement cycle? I reserve judgment is what I would say. It is interesting that the inner eye wall has contracted by about 2 miles, and that could be a plausible explanation for the erratic movement in the last hour or two, but we'll wait and see. But that is a plausible scenario. And again, these storms, they just can't stay this strong forever. I've seen storms like Irma, and we saw it with Helene in Milton. You know, they reach this upper echelon, and then they do kind of blow their top for a bit. And by blow their top, I mean they lose some wind, and they lose a little bit of the deepest pressure, but they're still extremely strong, powerful, destructive hurricanes. Westmoreland power gone and a lot of rain, so there you go. Starting to get bad in Westmoreland. Power in Planters Hill District of St. Catherine. No power in some parts of the north central sides of Clarendon. Appreciate it, guys. This has helped me out a lot. Power in St. James. Mandeville still has power. We could check out that recon. Yep. Trinidad in the house. Reyes Eagle Wings. Power in Freetown, Clarendon. You know, and we're going to start to see that Emerald Darts where, depending on what grid, right? Some of you might be without power, some of you could be, you know. Where I live in Florida, just happenstance, we happen to be under a hospital grid. So we are priority, right? Even during Hurricane Milton last year, and I did that live coverage for my Central Florida channel, we didn't lose power because we were under the hospital grid, and a lot of other areas did. Again, just happen chance. I will take the fortunate circumstances, but it will be grid dependent for sure. We'll see the Lorenzo. I mean, that could explain the erratic movement in the last hour and the slight contraction of the eye. So it could be beginning an eye wall replacement cycle. And it has been very erratic the last couple of hours, with a little bit of even a wobble south of due west. The structure on the outside is still very concentric. You know, potentially this little area here could be the beginning of your outer eye wall trying to form. Again, what we would see with an eye wall replacement cycle is you get like this 20 nautical mile wide outer eye begin to form, and then it contracts down on the inner eye, which is already beginning to shrink just a little bit, and then all of this white, which is your central dense overcast, actually comes right over the eye and it collapses in on itself, right? So then you actually have this monster hurricane without an eye. You just have all of that white in the middle, and it looks really freaky. But eye wall replacement cycles are a part of a life cycle, if you will, of a hurricane, especially in the strongest ones. And while in the short term, it could lower the maximum winds, some hurricanes, and more than likely with Melissa being one of the highest on record, So probably not for Melissa, but some hurricanes which are still evolving and developing and moving can actually come out of an eye wall replacement cycle even stronger, right? Once the inner eye wall forms again, they can actually have an increase in winds compared to before the eye wall replacement cycle, all right? Don't expect that with Melissa. But again, you know, what number does this knock this down to? Let's say it knocks it down, you know, 10, 15%. Okay, we're down to 145, 150. You know, practically, what difference does that make wherever this wants to go? Not much. We got power at Saville-Lamar. St. James still have lights. Got power at Falmouth. It's good. It's good to have many of you still saying you have power. Okay, Lucy has power. Now the water is gone. That's another thing, right? Thank you, Marlon, for that. Water gone in Unity Hills, St. James. You know, power is obviously one of the major utilities, but we've got, you know, water. We've got internet service as well. We'll see how sporadic that goes. You know, Justin, you know, he's got Starlink where he's at, you know, so luckily for us, he might still be able to send us some updates, even though he's lost power, and even if the internet goes down in the Treasure Beach area. Power in Sandy Bay, power in Southwest Westmoreland as well. All right, let me see here real quick, guys, while we're just having a nice chat. Again, just going to check if we've got the fortunately. All right. Houston is in the house. Eduardo from Belize, good to see you as well. Power in Santa Cruz. Still a Cat 5. By the way, the numbers that you see are the latest update from the Hurricane Center. That was a full update at 5 o'clock. Winds are 175 right now, okay? An impressive monster hurricane. Pressure's down to 906. The official movement at 5 o'clock was northwest at 3, but we can all see with our eyes that there has been a big wobble with this storm to the west and even slightly south of west as we've gotten into the 6 and 7 o'clock hours here, Eastern Daylight Time, 5 and 6 o'clock hours during the Jamaica time as well, so an hour behind Eastern Daylight Time. Old Harbor is in the house. Clouds starting to get really dark out there in St. James. I hear you. Again, we're keeping an eye out on all of our friends of the channel who are over the island. Want to take you again and show you that latest report from Justin in the Treasure Beach area here. Again, here's what was happening on Treasure Beach in the southwest side of the island just a little bit ago.
Okay, Monday, October 27th, Great Bay Treasure Beach. The time is 8 a.m. It's definitely getting loud outside now. The waves are definitely much bigger, more frequent waves as well. I would say about an extra 2 feet of sand has been brought up the beach and dumped. Let's have a look. Okay. Yeah, the frequency of the waves are definitely picking up here.
to leave now, guys. Watch out, the water reach in at the HQ. And we are leave now. We are take the warning.
The white house never real, guys.
You see, we take a video, come, make we go on home, go lock up. Better be safe than sorry. So, guys, the water reaching at the HQ already. So, we are leave and go to higher ground. We are going at the Airbnb. Watch ya. Watch ya. Come here, but. You what? How? Me not looking at. I better left them out there. We are leave now, guys. No joke. The breeze and the rain are coming here now. It's not a good look. So, guys, stay tuned. We've come to the end of this wonderful video. Stay tuned and big up on yourself as always.
Hey, Rusty and guys over at Medio Mundo. It's October 27th, it's Monday, and I'm down by Palisados. You can see the weather dome over there. That's the airport. You see that we still have the same storm surge coming in. Not sure if you can hear me with the wind. We've been getting tropical storm gusts so far. A few trees down, light poles here and there. Nothing major yet.
Okay, I appreciate Justin, the Cameron family, and Alex for telling the stories there on Jamaica. Again, Justin in the Treasure Beach area, the Cameron family, the Old Harbor Bay area, and Alex, for that video, he was in the Palisades area of Kingston there on the shoreline, just kind of giving you guys the flavor of what's happening. Again, you know, we're reaching out to those, trying to get additional live streams and updates. And obviously, again, you know, communication, even at this point in time, is a little bit spottier, but we're going to have some more from those three, and we appreciate that. And again, just trying to tell the story of what's happening right now, and obviously as the storm begins to move a little bit more closer to the island, and obviously if we do have direct impacts, which again is the extremely likely scenario with this powerful hurricane just offshore, you know, the aftermath of the storm as well. We're not just gonna, you know, leave our friends here in Jamaica. I mean, obviously this channel is dedicated to Caribbean and Bahamas forecasting, and you know, we certainly discuss the aftermath of the storm. If you guys lived through Beryl last year, you know, a lot of the updates that we did from, you know, again, you know, how the recovery efforts were going there. I remember we did that in the Windward Islands as well. So we got you covered beginning, during, and even after the storm. And I do want to make note of this, that again, if you're just tuning in, we'll continue to monitor what's happening with Beryl in the short term and this, you know, wobble west, we'll just call it that for now. But down the road, the fact that Southeast Cuba is under a hurricane warning, with likely major hurricane impacts and a storm surge of over 10 feet in some spots of Southeast Cuba, and rainfall totals that could be 10 to 20 inches and locally up to 25 for places like Santiago de Cuba, Holguin, and the Guantanamo area, and then moving into the islands here, where we, again, just to double check, I believe this has been upgraded to hurricane warning, right? I don't want to... Yeah, okay, so it has been. So again, hurricane warning now for the central and the southeast sides of the Bahamas, and that is still going to be a hurricane watch and a tropical storm warning for
Since the dawn of time, stories have connected us. Open art brings the tools.
But it has almost done a slight loop. Certainly the inner eye structure is becoming a little bit more elliptical and shrinking. So again, this was 6 hours ago, right at 1 o'clock Eastern time, noon on Jamaica. And just over the last, especially a couple of hours, I mean, even 4 o'clock hour, it looked very concentric. And then we've lost a little bit of this. So more than likely, we're beginning an eye wall replacement cycle. You notice how there's much more of an elliptical look to the eye? Still completely cleared out. Now, east to west, it's still nearly 9-10 miles. But instead of being completely concentric, now north to south, it's only about 6. So there is some structural changes going on within this storm right now. But all of that's fairly, all of that is understood to occur at some point in time. These storms can't stay at 175. They're going to go under eye wall replacement cycles every few days. Melissa has yet to do so. So we could be seeing that as we speak. And again, this very erratic motion over the last couple of hours could be a sign of that as well. Now, ultimately, again, how does this affect the overall track down the road? We'll have to see how that plays out, keeping an eye on the models and what the Hurricane Center wants to say. But one thing I can tell you is that, it's agonizingly creeping to the west right now at a couple of miles an hour, which puts the time frame for landfall or wherever the storm wants to go in proximity to Jamaica just deeper in time on Tuesday, right? If this storm is not making any closer approach right now, we're going to have to keep backing up this time frame a little bit. I certainly believe now landfall is likely to not occur until after daybreak tomorrow, but being on the northeast side of the storm, we'll get the strongest winds and the highest rainfall totals lashing the island, continuing to see the weather go downhill tonight and as we go overnight as well. All right. Friends, I'm going to take my first quick break of the live stream. I'm going to load up a couple of new things for you guys here, but stick around because I've got a lot of different facts for you guys to take a look at here as I take this quick break. And I've got that fantastic music for you guys as well. So I'll be back in just a second.
Meet Vidu, your intelligent AI video assistant. Whether you're crafting eye-catching ad visuals, building immersive animation,
the device that you're listening on.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Alright, I'm gonna mute it.
Please.
world of Ragnarok Online Prime never stands still. Novices gain experience and choose first job